Hey there, ladies and metal fish. So recently I won a tournament on Necromancy for Kids casual GOAT format server. Now what is that? That is a place to play GOAT format, but in a more casual setting. There's plenty of contests and events going on and locals and all that. So definitely go check out. I have that linked down below. Tell them Janjo sent ya. And recently, yeah, I won a tournament, a character tournament with Rex Raptor. Now, what this was they took the GOAT format card pool, gave each character a specified deck, in which each person could pick a deck out and build a deck around that. Now, there are certain rules. Some characters like Yugioh, who has a ton of cards, can only have a singleton copy of them. Whereas Rex Raptor can pick a fully loaded deck with all the cards. I'm on a roll right now because I also won a art contest back in October with a very spooky design, Mask of Dark Ruler. But enough about that. Let's check out this deck. So this is the card pool that I'm working with here. Now I didn't pick the deck because I thought it was going to be, you know, the best deck. I've always liked Rex Raptor. I mean, dinosaurs are cool as hell, am I right? Comment down below what your favorite dinosaur is. And in fact, in early 2000, or not early, late, probably like the late fall 2002, I actually built a dinosaur deck that was kind of like this. Because I didn't have too many cards back then, but I had like dinosaurs and dragons. And that was just pretty freaking awesome, I like to think. So of course I went to go with Rex. And I didn't even fully comprehend the rules until I was actually deck building, in which you have cards like Pot of Greed, Graceful Charity, Mirror Force. These cards, anything with the GOAT format ban list, you have to adhere to that. So all these cards are still at 1 copies, but anything else is free play. Bottom of the trap holes at 3 is probably like the strongest trap, and all these other cards are at 3 pretty much. So when I was looking at this deck list, there's kind of a lot to look at in regards to play style. So you have a lot of, you know, normal vanilla monsters, not a ton of good effect stuff, but like, yeah, you got Blast Juggler, but that's mainly for Cybersaurus, and that's an 1800 fusion. That's pretty bricky, unless like that's the only thing you have to run, but thankfully we have options. So two of the things you can look at is that you have Gaia Power, you have Wasteland, you have all these equipped stuff. So Beatdown's definitely an option to go with. The other option is a combo strategy when you have something like Ultra Evolution Pill and Reptiles in Cobra Jar and Balloon Lizard, which I think are great picks. Now, a lot of the cards formed were either cards that Rex actually used or cards that kind of fill in the place for that. You know, obviously you can use Hyper Hammerhead or Dark Triceratops, but they work with the deck. 2 very important cards. So what do we do? Do we go Beatdown or do we go the combo route? Now, when I was originally building the deck, I was kind of going back and forth about it, and I eventually decided that, alright, I can't really go like half and half. I gotta stick to one game plan. What is the best, most consistent game plan? And that is Beatdown. So you have a lot of strong monsters. Two-Headed King Rex, Crawling Dragon number 2, Yerby at 15, Luster Dragon, Cabazols. These are your strong beaters. You also got Hyper Hammerhead, worth 15. But then you gotta realize, alright, well, I have Dinosaur and Dragon. So what do I stick with? Do I do like both and both and kind of hope like, okay, maybe if I get into Mountain, maybe if I get into Gaia Power. I didn't want too many shenanigans. Again, I wanted this to be as consistent as I could. So I decided to stick with Dinosaur since there was just kind of more of that inherently. I mean, dragons, you have Luster Dragon, and you have a bunch of more 2 tribute stuff that really didn't need to mess with. Which might be for the best, considering Luster Dragon, like, this is all he is, really, is 1900 beat stick. In which a lot of these decks have a lot of beaters in them. You really wanted to boost the weaker stuff, like the 16 line. You know, Gaia Power does increase Cabazols, but Wasteland and Race Body Heat do. So it synergizes with that a little more as well. So now we got the game plan. Alright, so I want to do Beatdown. What do I side? How do I side this? Like, what is my strategy here? You could do more dragon stuff. You do have Dragon Speed. maybe that could come up. Maybe if there's a lot of targeting stuff and I end up going more dragonic strategies, that could be the way to go. I mean, Tyrant Dragon's really strong. But if I'm doing beatdown, I might as well just side the combo stuff just in case I want to use it with Ultra Evolution Pill. So that was kind of the main strategy, just side in a lot of more combo pieces and just bigger stuff if I need bigger monsters. So now I got my game plan. So this is what the deck looks like. So here is the deck I went with that I won first place in this tournament in 4 rounds of Swiss and the top 4 cut, in which I think most of the duels I went 2-1, but the finals I definitely did go 2-0. The strategy for this I think turned out pretty good. Again, it's consistency was the name of the game. I had to get like all the strong vanilla beaters. I didn't need Eurobeaks. I didn't need too many cards, and it gets to a point where you're adding in all these strong monsters, and you realize like, okay, now what do I add? what is left? So Hyper Hammerhead is really good, but I do like setting him from time to time because he is good for bouncing stuff back to deal with like equipped monsters or very powerful monsters I just can't attack over, like Blue Eyes White Dragon, or more gimmicky stuff like Dark Necrofear or Relinquished. He really is kind of the only way to deal with a lot of the alternate threats. Like, I definitely wanted to keep him in my hand from time to time, just kind of waiting for that specific card I needed him to be the out for. Geosaurus is also really good. Not as versatile, just because your opponent can special summon from the graveyard if you special summon Gila, which sometimes can be a pain in the ass, especially if they have some strong monsters in there. But with that said, his main function wasn't necessarily to be on field to inflict more damage, although that did come up. But his main thing was for Dark Triceratops, because, well, this is the best one tribute monster we have. And just special summon him, tribute this out, then you got a 2400 Piercer with potentially even higher attack. Triceratops is really good. Black Tyranno I had just in case I ended up using it, and quite frankly, I don't think I summoned it at all. If nothing of this deck changes for the next tournament, I probably would not be running Black Tyranno. I'd be running something else instead, maybe a Yurubi, maybe a Balloon Lizard, just something else. But yeah, when it came to the spell cards, of course, you're running like the power stuff. These are my power cards. I kind of wish there was a Dust Tornado, like out of 1 copy or something, but oh well. So the field spells, I didn't want to brick on field spells, but I wanted to draw into them. And Gaia Power is the best one because it increases by a hefty 500. It does lower defense. The only issue I found with Gaia Power is that it increases your opponent's monsters too, and a lot of times with these decks they have such a variety of cards, there's a good chance they're going to have earth monsters. I ran into that. Supply, I think, was one. There was a Toon Goblin Attack Force, and I think Toon Gemini Elf. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I would run into that, honestly, I did side this card out. If I did siding stuff, this was usually the first to go, like this, and then either Two-Headed or Crawling Dragon. They're both interchangeable. For this, I just needed consistent power, so like 300, this can work with all my monsters aside from Luster Dragon, so like I'm using this. And then Wasteland, it's not as good as Gaia Power, but it still is a boost if I need it. And if my opponent does surprise with an Earth monster, I can always activate this over it, which I did do on one occasion. And then Bomb's Trap Hole was a really good card too, just dealing with threats. If I drew into this early game, it was like so sweet. But again, it only deals with monsters that are summoned. So if they're already on field, it's not going to do anything. That's where Mirror Force comes in. Torrential Tribute can be proactive, it can be reactive. Then Call Haunted's really good too. I didn't really draw Call that much. Like a good play was the Graceful Charity, dump one of these guys, and then Call the Haunted them back. I never really got into that position too terribly often. Like the nice thing about all the monsters is that if you can keep a monster on field for longer than like, you know, 1 turn cycle, then you can usually get enough advantage where you can just keep summoning these out. It's definitely reminiscent of, I would say, like Earth Aggro in GOAT format, where it's a lot of just strong beers like on field. If that gets removed, summon another one. I try not to have too many, but there are definitely a lot of decks you had to increase the pressure, and with the right gameplay mentality. You can kind of read certain cards certain ways to know that, okay, this isn't a Mirror Force, this isn't a TT. I did actually side into combo a lot. A lot of game 2s I would side into if I needed that extra power. Because Balloon Lizard has good defense, which doesn't really synergize with Gaia Power, so like I usually swap these two out. And then Cobra Jar was also good because not only does it inflict some burn damage, you can also summon an additional token which can give you another monster on field to potentially use with Ultra Evolution Pill. I would usually add maybe one other Black Tyranno because I already ran a bunch of these monsters. I didn't want to run too many bricks because this has to summon a Tribute to Reptile for a dinosaur. So it doesn't work with Tyrant Dragon. And I'm not going to run, like, Red Eyes or Serpent Knight, because they're just, I mean, they're not good cards, especially, like, in this deck. So I never sided into Tyrant Dragon or Dragon Speed. These cards could just disappear off the face of the earth. Probably would cut one Black Tyranno. But again, like, it's also a case of, like, what other cards would you add? I mean, maybe you could add Shift to try it out. Maybe you could add some Mirror Bees if you need a little more monster stuff, if the beatdown isn't going whatsoever. But usually it happened in the right amount of speed where I could get my combo pieces in enough time to get something out. 'Cause I was never too gung-ho on using everything in the deck, because I understand that it's kind of a slower game state because it is character decks. But I definitely try my best to play optimally. Like, I'm usually out pretty early in tournaments because I feel like I'm pretty bad, or I like to just run jank suboptimal stuff. But I definitely tried this time and it definitely worked out. So let's check out one of the duels. All right, so this was the final round between me and GK Duelist 98, which was running a Kaiba deck. I've never done a duel replay on my channel, so this should be fun. So we got Kaiba versus Rex Raptor. Now, the thing with the deck is that if you really want to, like, hit the deck, I know there's Necromancy for Kids is kind of, like, back and forth on, you know, how it wants to, like, do stuff. You don't want to, like, cut the cards, but you also don't want to, you know, keep a top-tier deck top tier. You want to keep revolving stuff. Dark Triceratops, I think, is definitely, like, the linchpin card here because it synergizes with Gilasaurus very well as just, like, a great one tribute. And if you don't have this, you kind of have to run tougher cards to play. Gaia Power is really strong too, although it is a case of it can backfire. And Gilasaurus is also, like, really good too. I think what's going to happen, I think that they're going to cut Kabazuls and Dark Triceratops in the future, but I guess we'll have to see. So I draw into Luster Dragon, I win the RPS. The Luster Dragon's a great starter card because I can just summon this dude out and let him rip. And then I set this, if they MST this, like, it's fine. I don't really need it because I have Gaia Power. I don't need to do Graceful Charity. Again, I understand how slow this format is, so I'd rather get into cards that I know I'm definitely not using, or save it so I can pull my deck out and see if I can get a certain card I need, like a back row destruction. So I'm attacking. It's Petting the Dark Clown, which is kind of a tricky card. I think if you tribute over it, it misses timing. It's one of those, like, weird rulings. But I'm like, oh crap. So tough thing about Kaiba's deck is that it gets all these on-field cards and it's hard to pull through. So, like, this is another card. So he has all these cards. I'm like, crap. So I've attacked into that and it gets summoned. And the last thing I want to deal with is a Blue Eyes White Dragon. And then he Shadow Spells Luster Dragon, and that's fine. I mean, I have follow-up play, so it's like, all right, if he wants to get rid of that. Shadow Spell is pretty wild. It's like the original Fiendish Chain. It's literally chains. So I draw Gilasaur. So I could do the combo here. Hell, I could even just normal summon Crawling Dragon, right? I don't even need Gaia Power right now because the monsters are weak. And when Twin-Headed comes back, it's only going to be weaker. So I'm going to normal Crawling Dragon, and I'm going to equip him with Raised Body Heat. Again, I don't need to activate Gaia Power. I don't know what Earth monsters he has left, and this raises it a good chunk. Just have him deal with, like, my on-board stuff. I was really back and forth on what I should attack. Do I get some damage in? But I realized, okay, I should get the Petting out because this is his third copy, and I want him to have less monsters on field. So I attack into Petting, draw phase, a bunch of defensive maneuvers. I feel a little safe, and at this point I'm like, okay, I know Twin is going to come back. I probably need to apply some pressure. I'm good right now, so we'll let this happen, see what happens. If he summons Blue Eyes, maybe he'll attack into my face down at some point. since Hyper Hammerhead can deal with stuff like that. So it sets a card and passes. Now he has 3 monsters, so I'm like, okay, I gotta push. Like this deck is beat down. I gotta play beat down, right? So I'm just gonna attack. Attacks into Giant Germ, which when I saw it, I'm like, ah, are you freaking kidding me? I did play a Bakura deck earlier in the tournament, which Necromancy for Kid was piling, which also I think had Giant Germ. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it didn't. Maybe I'm just confused with like Necrofear decks. I've also played against an Atticus deck, which is dragons. I've also played against Pegasus twice. Once in Swiss and once in finals. I don't remember what the last deck in Swiss I fought was. I apologize. It feels like it was another dragon deck. So Lodgin comes out. I'm like, alright. You want to inflict 300. Bounces back. Whatever. Like, you can't beat over Crawling Dragon. Unless you got another card like Shrink, which I don't think is in this, because this is only GOAT format card pool. So I'm going to normal Giliosaurus. I looked at his grave. I'm like, I don't really care what he has. If he summons anything in defense mode, I'm going to pierce through it. In which, like, if you want to inflict burn damage, Giant Germ, that's fine. But it's better, even better for me, because that's 100 defense against a 2400 bird. I could even do Gaia Power here. I decided not to, because I do kind of want to play around heavy. So I'm pretty sure every deck runs heavy. So I'm going to pierce, I'm going to attack the unknown. I'm going to take that 500. And he actually had a Giant Germ, so this guy is kind of breaking a little bit. I'm like, 500 damage, whatever, I'll take it. If I can inflict more damage than I'm being dealt, that's okay by me. So he's going to switch Germ to attack mode and a normal summon Lodgin and pass. I guess it's better that he didn't want to take all that piercing damage, and he doesn't want to take too much direct damage. So that's fair. But I'm going to apply pressure, because I feel like he would have TT'd already or Mirror Forced when these guys are out. So I think this card's nothing, which it turns out it was. So I feel safe on just going on, like, hyper offensive. So I'm going to attack, 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 and attack. That's the name of the game here, really. And then attack direct with Kabazals. Love that hippopotamus-looking dude. Yeah, Soul Resurrection, which was the Lodgin. I was just double-checking, make sure, like, you know... like, this is a tournament. I want to play by the rules. This isn't Nom. Because the summon's in defense mode, so Kabazals can attack over it. So I have a pretty good board. I'm like, my hand, like, it's full of stuff. Like, it's full of follow-up plays, really. I feel pretty happy with it. Summons Kaiser's Seahorse. I remember seeing this card in the Kaiba Evolution deck. I was like, whoa, it's an ultra rare. And with Megamorph, I was like, oh, crap. Now his attack is 3,400. It's like, that's strong pepperoni. I have a couple stuff I could do. I could attack into it with, like, Kabazals and then attack over that with Crawling Dragon. That's a play. But I also don't want to lose my on-field monsters. I don't have a ton of follow-up stuff. It's basically just Giliosaurus. So I'm thinking about it. I activate Graceful at this point because I really wanted to get into my Mystical Space Typhoon. And I do not. I get into another Gaia Power, Kabazals, and a Bottomless Trap Hole, which is fine. More protection is nice. So Giliosaurus, I don't need, and then Gaia Power, I don't need another copy of. So I'm just going to dump that. I was really looking for MST, and yeah, DB was pretty laggy this tournament, so I'm just going to pop Heavy Storm. I can get rid of Raised Body Heat, and then I can activate Gaia Power, or I can equip another Raised Body Heat. The world is my burrito. So I'm just going to do the same. I'm just going to activate Raised Body Heat, but I'm actually going to use it on Kabazals, because Kabazals does not get the Gaia Power boost. So at this point, I'm going all in. Like, he's getting kind of low on card advantage. He's definitely using just weird plays at this moment. So I'm pretty comfortable in just attacking in with all these super big monsters. So now he's definitely on a clock. So I'm going to set Bottomless Trap Hole, hoping he doesn't. I had a thought he may Heavy Storm, and it turns out he does. So I lose the Bottomless, but I'd rather have it as protection than not. Because, like, these monsters are still strong, regardless. Now I draw the MSC, activate it right away. Chain that middle card. It was enemy controller. I didn't know if he had a Mirror Force, so I was probably going to set this guy anyway to defense. It turns out it's not Mirror Force, but I figured I'd play around it. Like, again, I'm in a good position. I could finish him off this turn, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. And now I'm going to switch into attack mode, because this is GOAT format. And that was that. So Sighting is always kind of tricky. If I feel super confident, I'll just pretty much keep the same deck in. But if I feel like I need a little extra power to deal with some of the bigger threats, I would side in the combo pieces, in which I would remove normally the Gaia power and one of the 1600s. And then he says, glad I get to side in some Earth monsters. I don't know if it was a tactical thing or not, but when I saw this, I'm like, alright, I'm definitely siding out Gaia power. Like, I wasn't sure about siding out Gaia power originally, but after that, I'm like, I'm siding out Gaia power. You spilled your beans. So I'm going to go second here. That's fine. That's just how the cookie crumbles, you know what I mean? So main phase 1, set, pass. Like, okay. Now at this point, I'm like, I'm 1 game up. I'm feeling pretty good. A lot of these decks, which I gotta say, like, everyone playing their decks, I was really excited about how they managed to form their deck, from whether it's Atticus or Pegasus or Kaiba. Like, they all had their own edge to it, which I really liked. I thought the decks were really well built. Like, Pegasus had the tunes and relinquish combo stuff, which was such a pain in the ass to deal with, or Atticus were using, like, Cave Dragon stuff. Like, that was wild. So, same thing, Luster Dragon, good summon, and then, like, once again, these annoying germs. This time he actually gets 2 out from deck, so he didn't brick as heavy into them. So then he passes. And this is a very exciting duel. I'm excited to show this one. So then here it comes, the legendary Dragon of Destruction. I'm like, oh crap, turn 2. That's a dangerous one. So what do I do against this guy? Well, of course, I draw into Bottomless literally the next turn. That's super unfortunate. But I do have my combo pieces. But again, this can't beat over a Blue Eyes. And this is where Hyper Hammerhead is, like, so necessary for the deck. Because otherwise, like, you got nothing. Like, you would have to get Gaia Power, and then you would have to use Raised Body. Like, you have to use, like, a lot of cards just to deal with this. And having something like that where, yeah, you do take damage. I took 1500. Like, that's fine. He goes back to hand, but if he has to summon that, he has to tribute 2 more monsters. Like, right now, he has an empty field. And I basically do, too. So he summons Lojin. I'm not going to bottomless this, because I can beat over it with Triceratops. And he doesn't set anything, so I feel even more comfortable with it. I could set Cobra Jar, have him attack, summon a token, but it's going to end up being the same thing. So you can summon... I don't know if you can set... I think you can set an Ultra Evolution it. I'm not entirely sure how that works, but I'm just going to summon it. Summon Triceratops. Now I can attack into it. And this will make Triceratops really good. Especially with the Ultra Evolution pill. Like, yeah, if I had Black Tyranno, that would have been awesome too. But Triceratops is just way more versatile in that regard. Like, he can work with beatdown and combo, which I like a lot. Setting is fine because piercing damage is a thing. So I'm just going to get rid of that back row. I don't know what it is. It's a Ring of Destruction. Oh, crap. 2400 to both of our faces. I'm down a lot. Actually, now I'm thinking about it, I don't know if he took the 24. Oh, I don't think he did. What the fuck? Not that it mattered, but motherfucker. So I'm going to Graceful Charity. I draw Cabazal's Wasteland and Crawling Dragon. I don't need Crawling Dragon. I don't need Cabazal's, because I got Luster Dragon. Because if I had Wasteland, he would have been 1900 anyway. So I'm going to summon Luster Dragon, attack. It was, go figure, Pretend the Dark Clown, this annoying guy. Shout out to Alifia, by the way, who played him at the, I believe, GOAT Format World Champions in this year, 2023. So then he's going to tribute for Luster Dragon. So this guy is definitely dangerous. This is the Dark Triceratops of Kaiba. And at this point, I'm like, I mean, I have to Bottomless. There's no better reason to use that card. So he sets, I draw another Luster Dragon. I'm going to summon. If he TTs, whatever. I'm already playing on Razor's Edge. So I might as well just go all out. And I do. And it pays off for 3,800. I don't use Wasteland. It doesn't do anything for me. I think this card's dead. Turns out it is. So he summons Slate Warrior, which is kind of an interesting card. It is 1900 beater. I'm just going to crash. I guess, like, what else can he do? That's fine. So that's another card. I draw into Black Tyranno. This is why I hate this card. Like, you draw into it and you're like, I wish it was anything else. Like, just be a Uraby. I swear, you know, that'd be better. Unfortunately, that is just the fact of life. Now, honestly, this would have been game, because Ring of Destruction. But what are you gonna do? So if you use Graveyard, what's he gonna? He's gonna set a monster. I draw a TT, which is nice protection if he doesn't snipe it out, because he hasn't used any removal otherwise, any backer removal. So I just have to attack. It's a Peten. He banishes it, which he didn't need to because he realized that he already had 3, but you can still banish it. And you can search with no targets. But unfortunately, it is banished. So I'm going to set TT. If he summons something to beat down, I got some protection. Blade Knight is definitely a big threat. 2k attacker. Of course, I have to TT that because if he attacks, I got nothing left. So I need to get rid of his monsters just as he needs to get rid of mine. Luckily, this is where the dragons come in. I draw into Crawling Dragon number 2. 16. Nice little powerful dragon with teeth that can grind almost anything to dust. And I'm going to boost him up because boosting him up will mean game. To 1800. And attacks in. Negate attack. Protects him for 1 more turn. But even if he summons like La Jin, he would have to crash it. Though I think Kaiba, I don't know if all of his, like some of his cards I think are at 1. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, obviously like Petin and Giant Germ, but that makes sense. He's gonna, same thing set, no monster. Mirror Force, another great protection card. I'm gonna attack. If I attack, it works. And that would be that. So, Ring of Destruction or not, I came from a 700 deficit. Burst Stream, Megamorph, like all these non-cards. And like that was that. So that was very exciting stuff. So yeah, that was the Rex Raptor character deck. It was super exciting, super awesome to be part of this tournament. I am the Iron Chef, the King of Draw Style, Janjo. It was really fun. Obviously, I won't play the same deck next time. I like to try out different stuff whenever they decide to do that, or other tournaments or locals on Necro's server. So again, definitely check that out. And if you like Rex Raptor, if you got that Dino DNA, let me know down below. So until I see you all next time, have an exciting and thriving day.